Hey, Soul Warriors. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, who am I really? There has to be more than this. In a world that constantly tries to shape us, remember, who we are is a journey back to our core, to the essence that makes us uniquely us. And we're not just talking about hobbies or preferences, but the soul connection to your true self. It is time to peel back the layers of expectations and societal norms to uncover your vibrant, unapologetic spirit that is just waiting to shine. Remember, when you stand firm, the universe doesn't just take notice, it aligns with you every single step. I have found this myself, that the more I get into this work and the more that I just surrender to who I really am instead of my learned self, that things get easier and I feel more plugged in and I know what to do more often.
Yeah. I like the unapologetically you.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed that because there is so much going on in the world and we forget who we are, what we came here to do, but most important, just understanding and bringing out the parts of us that are powerful, that are balanced, that are, connected, tuned in to all the things that makes us who we are.
Right. All those things that we're missing and we're constantly craving. Mm-hmm. And so this came up actually because a client that we're coaching asked us, what do you mean? I hear you keep saying, remember who you are. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand it, because how can I remember something that I have no experience of?
Right.
And they don't in this physical realm. Mm-hmm. that they can remember. But the thing is that we all come in knowing who we are. We arrive here knowing, and then you're initiated into the thing called your family. And then you're introduced to society, and you get all these learned behaviors and all these beliefs and everything, and they just create this false self. And then your ego develops around it, and your ego is like, I must protect this false self, because being in this false self is what keeps me safe. Being in this false self is what means love to me. Mm-hmm. So I must protect it to the bitter end.
Yeah. We get bombarded from day one of what we should be, how we need to be, and it's all filters based upon what our parents went through. It's generational over and over and over again. And society has its box, if you will, that also gets imposed upon whenever possible. When you get to the point in your life where you're like, you know what, this doesn't work for me. I don't want to do that anymore. That's the true, authentic you knocking at your door saying, this needs to change. Exactly. It really, really needs to change. And you need to let me out because I'm here to do something.
Right. So every single moment, if you can look at it as an opportunity to step more and more, turning that dial more into who you truly are, or turning the dial farther away, it's completely up to you. You'll know if you keep getting more depleted and you keep feeling more lost, more disconnected, that you've been turning the dial the wrong way. So if you can then notice that and start making different choices and getting back to your true self, because you'll feel just happier and more at peace and more lit up the more that you do that.
Right. I know that when I got to that place in my life, it didn't seem so daunting, coming from such, I felt like I was, crawling out of a hole, if you will. All the dirt's on me and I'm dirty and everything is coming out. But once I was on the surface of it all, it just felt so much better. And no matter what came my way, it was easier to deal with. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that it was an easy situation, but it was easier to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what spiritual awakening is all about. A lot of people will ask us, well, I don't know what my purpose is, or, what is my purpose? And it is, the first purpose is to remember who you are. Mm-hmm. So your whole spiritual journey, your whole spiritual awakening is showing up, knowing, forgetting, and gradually making choices as you remember, and then standing in, embodying that, your essence of origin, your origin energy, standing in that and bringing that uniqueness into this world. That's your job. So this might look at the beginning, like the beginning of spiritual awakening. It is tough. It is tough because you have that battle going on between your heart and your mind, between your family and your friends as you're starting to shift, you know, internally. Well, I've always been the apply whatever label that you've been taught growing up. So there's a lot of struggle that comes up, and a lot of despair and all these, the dark and the dirty feelings and the shadow. And then you'll shift into like, oh, okay, my teacher taught me that. My sister taught me that. My mom and dad imposed this on me. And anger will start to come up, and disappointment and all these things. Resentment. But then as you keep progressing, that whole not taking it personally, you start to realize, well, yeah, but their parents taught them that and their teachers taught them that. So they're all just doing the best they can with what they were taught. And as far as they've evolved right now. So then you start leaning into kind of the compassion and the I can identify, you know, why you've been doing what you've been doing, because I've been doing what I've been doing for 30, 40 years too. And you just subconscious, you don't know. So when you don't know,
it lands you in forgiveness.
Yeah, it's easier.
That really does. It lands you in forgiveness when you're going through that process. And once you get to that point, you do forgive because you have a better understanding of the filters your parents have gone through, the filters that, you know, your siblings, your friends, everybody you come in contact. Because we have to remember that, you know, everyone that comes into our lives is kind of like a token of remembrance, if you will. They're there to do a certain thing, to trigger a certain part of you that will get you closer and closer to that authenticity. So once you get to there, just forgive, as hard as it may seem. Just forgive, because you'll have a greater understanding. You know, when I got to the point of forgiving my mom, that was when everything else kind of fell into place. You know, because first of all, I forgave myself.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
Then I forgave her because I had a greater understanding of her background, of what she went through and how she was doing the best that she could. Not to minimize the crap that she put us through, but there was a level of understanding that got me to the other side, so that I wouldn't be angry, so that I wouldn't be hurt, so that I wouldn't be any of those things, but more of the parts of me that were very compassionate, you know, and it really fell into place. And that's when you land in forgiveness, keep going. Keep going.
And we often have the people that like, they inspire us to be better or bigger or more, and so we put them up on a pedestal and like they're our teacher and our guru. There's no learning and there's no guru. This is all like, it's remembering, it's not learning. It's evolving back into yourself. So those people are just as sacred as the people that are showing up to apply pressure and to have the struggle happen, so that you can play this game of life and work your way out of those things. Like coming to this planet, that's kind of the bottom line, is it's like, hey, let's go to this place where we're going to forget our brilliance and see how we can work our way back. And, you know, or I want to come back and experience a lifetime where I don't figure it out and see what that's like. I want to, it's
a fun game.
Oh yeah. Where I come back and, you know, those little kids that are plugged in are like, you know, I was a 30-year-old dentist in a past life, and then my son died, and this and that, and they can tell you all this stuff because they never fully went to sleep. Like there's all different levels of this, and that's why people come back and come back.
Right.
I mean, you're an immense spiritual, beautiful, powerful being. So it's just, it's like the video game you're picking up to come play right now.
Yeah, and I think for me, and I think in Soul Intentions, we're all about that. We're about mirroring and remembering, you know, so you can get to that place where you're able to balance out the authentic part of you to the very worldly parts of you. So it's like, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do that for you guys, you know. So and as hard as it may feel sometimes to us or to you, it's worth going through it, because you just coming out the other side of it is just amazing.
Until you go back in again, and because there's always levels to it and layers. So don't, you know, because we have a lot of people like, oh, I have arrived, I've emerged, I'm, you know, I was a king of blah blah blah, this and that, and there's still that egoic part of it, because there's just layers of letting go and layers of discovery, and it's all it's as fun as dressing up for Halloween, if you thought that was fun, or whatever else you think is fun. And also, when you're commenting, you're reflecting back to us. So we're seeing like, what's landing, or you're commenting on something that like worked for you or how you shifted. And then that reflects to us so we can evolve. We're all doing this together. This is community. This isn't, your latest guru.
Right.
And I really want to hit on the forgiving yourself part of it.
Yeah.
Because I struggled with that for a bit, because I prided myself on like being very aware and logical and understanding and tapped in and empathic and all these things. And then to realize that, wow, so I was snowed for 40 plus years thinking that, this is the way it works. And I figured that out, and I did it well, and I was really successful. And then as everything started to shift and I started to shift, my old ways didn't work. So I went deeper into the illusion, deeper into my false self, pushing myself harder and not understanding why it wasn't working. So that's just part of the experience too. And I learned a lot from that. And it gets you to the point where the pressure is like so much that the ultimate surrender happens, and you just learn so much about yourself and letting energy flow. It's a beautiful process, like you said, is as painful as it can be, but the beauty in it just balances it out.
Absolutely. And it is so, so important to forgive yourself. And it's one of the things that we miss. We miss that a lot. We just tend to just keep moving forward and making it about somebody else's problem and all these things. And that's not the right solution for anybody, because when we go within ourselves and really look into those dark places, the places we don't talk about, and shine a light there so that you can really get to see what the hell is going on. Those are the moments where you're like, okay, this is for me to heal. This is for me to understand. This is for me to apply some sort of empathy towards it. And most of all, to forgive after the fact, because you can't change your experience. It happened, but you can certainly forgive how you feel about it and the imprints it might have left, and those are so incredibly important, because once you get there, you move forward to the next step, whatever that next step might be for you, because it's different for everybody.
Right.
There's no like one way. So don't get into into all this and then say, well, am I doing this right? Or, yeah, you are. If it's right for you, it's right for you.
Mm-hmm. And you do have the ability to reframe the experience, even though it's already happened. Like she said, you can't change what happened, but you can change how you've chosen to take it in. Mm-hmm. Like maybe in that moment you were pissed off, or in that moment you felt betrayed, but now you can be like, all right, I'm having compassion. I don't know what's going on for that person, or maybe you found out afterward. Like, I can feel differently about this. I'm giving myself permission to not have to dig into that story, which is just digging my own grave at this point, and really look at it differently. And also to keep in mind that your story is mind made. It's just all the pieces that you've learned and remembered. So you can shift that.
Yeah.
It takes some work, because understand it's 95% of your subconscious that's just running the show. So it's going to take patience with yourself, the forgiveness with yourself, redirecting yourself as to what you decide is important and how you want to proceed in life, and really checking in with that gut feeling again. We've learned to like shut down our heart and shut down the parts of ourselves that we're taught we don't get love, or we don't get valued. Or, hi, baby cat. Do you not feel valued and loved right now? You have a big thing of litter on your nose and you look like a snowman. And getting back to where you talked about the shadow parts, these are parts, yes, definitely shine the light, and you will find other things beyond, once you've taken care of the stuff to heal and shed and release and all that. You will find parts of you that you've shoved into the shadows, you've shoved into the dark places because you didn't feel safe expressing them, or you were taught that they were unacceptable, like, to be seen and not heard, like to not express your power and dominance because it means you're a dick or you're a bitch or whatever things that people put upon you. So there's parts of your power that live in those shadow parts. The shadow parts is not always something to be, feared and gotten rid of and released and healed. There are those in there, but I just want to remind you that a lot of your power exists there too. So we're shining the light on all of it, and we're respecting and honoring all the parts, like light and dark, because we are all things. It's all energy.
Exactly.
It's all us.
I want to send this out to you as a reminder that you are a loving being, a powerful being, a being with full of so much love and compassion. Is just a matter of tapping into that for yourself first, and then it can amplify out into the world. Because imagine you coming out of all of that, this bright light full of so much hope and love and all those things, and then life happens around you, and then the light tends to dim. But when you've come across yourself in that way, the light never dims. Because it doesn't matter what the hell goes on around you or what's going on in the world. That part of you is present, and it's solid because it's here for a reason.
So please be brave enough to stop being who you've been pretending to be and step back into who you are. Remember who you are. Allow those parts to just everything to crack open and come out. So that light can shine bright and brighter as it's needed around you. And that's what remembering who you are is.
All right. Be kind. Peace.